Hey guys, Becky from Bex and Books. It is Monday, it's the end of the day, I've just finished work, it is pretty hot, and it is the end of February, which means my February wrap-up is now here, which is probably the first time I've done it straight away. So let's just keep going with it. So I'm going to show you the books that I read for February. I read a total of 5 books, 4 actual physical books and 1 ebook. So let's just jump right in. So the first one I read of this month is Sophie Kinsella's 20s Girl, because finally I kept putting it on my TBR and then it's here in my wrap-up. Like, it just, wow, amazing how that happens. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. It was very slow to begin with, not exactly my favorite of Sophie Kinsella's books, but I have now officially read all of her books under the name Sophie Kinsella. But yeah, I had quite mixed feelings with it, because at the start, like I said, it was slow, and then the characters were really annoying, and then it completely redeemed itself within halfway through it, and the messages about respecting your elders basically comes along with it and fills you up with all these emotions and feels, and I ended up really enjoying it. And can we just love and appreciate the cover of this book, because yeah, it's pretty unreal. So the next book I read was absolutely one of my favorite books this month, and it was a 5 out of 5 stars, and that is A Monster Calls, and this is by Patrick Ness, and it's also the original idea by Siobhan Dowd, and it was also illustrated by Jim Kay, which is also the illustrator for the Harry Potter illustration editions, and that was really exciting. This is the first book I've read of this author, and it was just so full of emotions, the uniqueness behind it, just the power of the words that I read through this, and wow, it's so hard to explain because I don't want to end up crying. But this story is about a young boy who you find out is about, I guess, 14 years old, and he is dealing with all these kinds of emotions, and of course he brings on the monster, calls the monster without realizing he has, whereas the monster wants him to kind of know why he's called him by telling him 3 stories. Now, 3 stories that he tells him are true stories, and they all have different I guess messages within these stories, just to kind of aid this boy into realizing, I guess, himself and life, and why his mother's sick, and dealing with his mother being sick, which is of course something that kids shouldn't have to deal with, and all these changes happening, and it is such an interesting perspective. And of course he has to, the rules are, he also, after the 3 stories are done, he has to tell 1 story that is also completely true to the monster. So we go on this, I guess, adventure in a way. The pictures are absolutely stunning, very dark, very suited for this story, and I read it in a night. My friend was telling me all about it, and I was like, well, might as well go to the bookshop and get it. And I've heard so many other great things about it, and guys, if you have not picked this novel up, please do, because it is amazing. It's life-changing in certain ways, and it will stick with you for a while, and this book has stuck with me for such a long time still, and I definitely will reread it. And I didn't think I would cry, I guess, but it is it is sad, it's very emotional, and yeah, it makes you feel the feels and stabs you and pours lemon juice in it and stabs you again, but you know. Anyway, so yeah, 5 out of 5 stars, highly recommend this, and I cannot wait to read more from Patrick Ness, and the way he did a tribute to the original idea author was just beautiful, so well done. The next book I read was an ebook, but it didn't actually show up because it's a reread. It didn't show up on my Goodreads. So it's pretty strange, but it is Controlling the Dead, and it is by Annie Walls, and it is the sequel to Taking the Dead that I read last month. I really enjoy these books. I was in such a zombie apocalypse kind of mood, and these books are amazing. I am still waiting for the third book and the final book, but we shall have it very soon apparently. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I thought, well, since we're getting it soon and it's been like pretty much years since I've read it, I'm going to reread it again, and I gave it about 4 stars because it does start off really slow and then all these things happen and it's just mind-blowing. I cannot wait to see where these characters lead. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it is a sequel, so I don't want to spoil it, but I can assure you that the sequel is pretty damn good, and I definitely recommend this series, which will be in my apocalypse recommendation video when I decide to film and put it up, because I keep saying it and I never do it. But anyway, so that was a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, because I started feeling a bit panicky, thinking, oh my god, I've only read like 4 books, or not even 4 books now, so I decided to pick up a easy middle grade book, and that's a series of unfortunate events. Book the third by Lemony Snickets, which is The Wide Window. I am enjoying these series. It's very depressing and very frustrating because you're just kind of screaming at the book saying, well, they were right the first 2 times they said I'll laugh after them, yet you still don't believe them. Like, oh my goodness, guys, like, oh my god, it's just so frustrating. And I know they say it's a depressing book, and I do still love the way they kind of you know, say a word and then actually say, and in this case this word means, and then they tell you the meaning behind it, and it's very good because, you know, young kids are learning different meanings as well as reading such an amazing adventure. But I'm still a bit iffy about it being a middle grade book because of how depressing it is and how, yeah, very different it is. I've never read these books before. That is why I have decided to pick them up as an adult, because it's nice to just breeze through a beautiful, easy book, which, look at that, they're like serrated, like edges things. It's very nice. So I decided to pick this up. This one I gave a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It wasn't the best one I read. I mean, I loved how they kind of gave little disclaimers in it, like, hey kids, don't go out and steal a boat in the middle of a storm, or don't do this just because these kids are doing it and just because you're older than these kids. I liked how they did that, but it just gets really frustrating how they do repeat certain aspects in these books, and you're just like, dude, we know, you've told us like 5 million times in the first 5 chapters, like, we get the point. But yeah, I am definitely interested to see where it goes and whether the unfortunate events sort of become more fortunate, I guess. So, boop. The last book that I read, finally I got through it. I really wanted to read it by the end of the month, and I did. Last night I finished it, and that is Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book in the Infernal Devices book. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This is actually like the prequel to the Mortal Instrument books, and I was told to read them, like I keep explaining in all my videos, in publication order, just to get the full aspect of these books. So I decided to do so. I finished book 3 of the Mortal Instrument. I jumped into this one, and I don't even want to go back to the Mortal Instruments because this story was a lot better. I enjoyed it so much more. The characters to it, the world building. I love the Victorian era 1800s style. That's the kind of world I love, especially for shadow hunters and downworlders, vampires, werewolves. I can't even talk properly. But I gave it a bit more of a, you know, like mysterious feel to it. And then the things that you did read about in the first 3 books of the Mortal Instruments, they do pop up in here, where it all originated and certain things like that. So that was actually quite interesting, and I really like that Cassandra Clare had done that. I'm not a big fan of Will Herondale, though a lot of people are. I find him very rude. He's obviously got some issues, and Jem is such a kind, sweethearted guy, and there was just mind-blowing aspects and stuff happening in this story, and I can't even think straight right now because I don't want to spoil anything, but all these plot twists and stuff, I was just like, what just happened? Like, are you kidding me? Because I did not expect that to happen, and it did, and I'm just like, what? But yes, I did give it a 4 out of 5 stars, 4.5, you know, who knows. I'm still getting my head around it. I look forward to reading the next 2 in the Infernal Devices trilogy. So these are the lovely books that I read for this month, minus the ebook that I had read. I did enjoy it. I do wish to read more, but I mean, considering it's a short month by like a few days, and I was a bit slumpy and I had other things to concentrate on this month, it's pretty good otherwise, you know, like it could have been no books and then my TBR pile would just be ridiculous. So yes, but that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you guys thought of any of these books. If you yourself have read them, please let me know of any recommendations down below, and keep your eye out for my March wrap up. So until next time guys, happy reading, bye!